It's gonna be an interesting one because we just saw previous week EKC versus LC. They both put on very big performances, and now this week EKC is up against the S.A.D.B.O.I.S. Not a team you can slouch against, but after the performance they put on last week, it's hard for me to see them as slouches ever in my life. As now we're just getting straight into this game. No
Wow.
hesitation here on Night Market, with Gates of Obscura being the next map, and then Aquarian Test Chamber should be our third. Should we get to there? But the picks and bans, it seems they've already happened. The Octavia looks like it's going to be coming out here with Chrono Boost being the starting awakening. I suppose that does make some sense. We'll have to see how powerful that is. But with Peak Performance being the other one, we do see that X-Era comp coming out for the scaling. Looking at these two teams, how are you feeling about them? I think the biggest question mark here is that Octavia.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially for Josh coming in as a substitute, busting out the Octavia, and the match has been terminated, so there's going to be a little bit of something to figure out here before we truly do get started. But, I mean, yeah, I think assuming that these picks and bans are locked, which I'm pretty sure they are, and there's going to be a lot on Josh's shoulders here with this Octavia pick, especially coming in with two players who have put in a lot more reps with nxzd than they have with their subs, I'm sure. A lot to put on his shoulders, even with the Chrono Boost start.
Absolutely. And people were talking about how Josh was that brawler extraordinaire. Octavia, not exactly a character I would consider a brawler, does have some ways to stuff the core with that primary and with that ultimate, but they're a little difficult to set up. It's not quite something like that just punch it in. And when you have Luna as your backup, you would think, okay, that's a lot of damage. Maybe we need a way to confirm these kills. And instead, what we're seeing is a ton of damage there, maybe some cheeky kills off of the Giga Blast from Kai. But like we said, we just have to see if Josh, like all brawlers, can get it done. But right now, it looks like we had some sort of technical issue they are solving, but we're getting back into it finally. As we see, I have just noticed, however, this other team, it appears to be X-Era, but with Juliet. I'm trying to figure out who the goalie is in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, X-Era Julie. I mean, hmm. Part of me almost wants to say Era, but that doesn't make much sense either. I don't. All right, yeah, okay, it is Era double brawler, so yeah, looking like it might be Era in the goal box. That's gonna be crazy.
I mean, we've seen double brawler comps before on this map, and using that eject button to get the secondary cooldown back, that's going to give them a lot of power on kickoffs to maintain the speed gate and make up for that sort of lack of mobility those two brawlers have by just dominating the speed. However, once you get more into the game, that's going to be a little bit less defensive power that you have on that goalie, as Era is not exactly a hold it down goalie like somebody like Dubu or Mako. So we'll just have to see if off of that initial onslaught they can survive and make plays for themselves, or whether or not this double brawler comp is just sort of run them over before they get the chance to really have a say in what's happening.
Yeah, that's definitely what S.A.D.B.O.I.S are going to be hoping for. They've definitely been going, I think, a little bit wackier with their drafts this season. It really feels like they're leaning into the draft doesn't matter philosophy that Vaughn's been championing for a while. Let's see how they're going to be able to do with Double Brawler's Era in the goal arc to start off game number one. Vaughn launching it backwards right into You Already Loses Hands as we start off our game number one kickoff.
Quick barrier taken, but Soren on the hunt here, trying to make something happen with the help of Josh. But with this double brawler comp, we actually have, I've just realized, is mirrored by the double midfield comp here, as we'll have to see with that speed gate if they can keep it up. But it seems like the other team was actually the one that took the speed gate there. They opted for the speed and the primary from Era to start off that kickoff with huge oppression, making it very difficult to stand near the ledge and the core. So maybe that's going to be part of their strategy, is just sort of suffocating one lane and making you suffer should you go there just like this. These two not exactly holding hands, but definitely supporting each other. And one kill goes down. The barrier might be next.
Yeah, there's that Flame Flurry coming out of Bells as they look to push for more. Double KO ends up coming through for Vaughn, and now it is a 3 versus 1 power play. Soren trying to stay alive, trying to defend the goal just in time for Katsuna to come through, but Bells will put it through for the first score of game number one.
We definitely saw some good defense there at the start of that, but eventually in a 3v1 power play, and we already saw You Already Lose walking up with that flip. That at that point, that just felt like Calamity was going to strike. You just had to wait for it to happen. Right there, we see again the dash punch attempt by Vaughn here on the X. So it definitely looks like they're trying to suffocate that lane and punish the opponents for going up to the core here. But now we have a situation where it's going a little bit more back and forth here with Kitten and Josh. But the problem is, as they're trying to get this core in, because they don't have a guaranteed way, like a dash punch or something along those lines, they take a lot of damage, and there we actually see Josh go down the Octavia is going to be on a bit of a timer here as that barrier goes down. It's a 1-1 situation here, but BOIS has flipped, and You Already Lose has the speed to get it to them. It's just a matter of time at this point, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's always so much fun to get to see Vaughn start to bust out these brawlers. He's so much more willing to play them a little bit more like a midfielder, really going for some of those cross-field passing plays, getting it back to You Already Lose, getting it back into BOIS' hands, and it's done very well to open up opportunities for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S so far in game number 1, but ooh, this aggression from Katsuna, he's got the flip, and he's gonna push it through, tying things up. Air's Kitten Club are on the board.
That X primary, not exactly the fastest move. X having a little bit of a windup on his abilities makes it a little difficult to defend sometimes there. But if they perhaps got a strike and then the Luna tried to dash, that could have even been a potential kill there. So I don't dislike the idea. It's just that little bit of windup just takes so much. But right now, Josh is winding up this secondary. Lots of speed going to them. The core staying a little bit out of their hands, though, with a good ultimate, but it does get back to them. They maintain the ultimate here. Even though the bar had gone down, it seems like they're able to keep that ult up just enough. But with the pressure from Vaughn coming out, you got to see if Josh can stay alive at this point, as now the tools are out, but the barriers are down.
Absolutely. Soren falling back on the defense here, looking to keep holding on towards his last barrier, but Bell's looking to push up on the top side. There's the Bewitching Beam coming out through from You Already Lose. They're going to be able to find that second barrier with Bell's aggression. There's that Magical Maelstrom, not quite going to come in the right angle, but Bell's in the one-on-one up against Soren. Just catches him going in the wrong direction and sneaks it through in the bottom corner.
Definitely a difficult position. BOIS was in the perfect spot with a couple of dribbles there to get straight in the center and say, you've got to take a guess one way or another, and I'm just going to send it the opposite way. So an excellent play by them, but almost an excellent kill. And with the help of their teammates, they do get it down. And with 2 flips available, this power play is about to be big. They want to get BOIS as retribution, but we'll have to see if BOIS burns that flip or whether or not they're the ones on the burn or getting cooked alive. But it's the goalie who's down now. One more flip comes out. BOIS tries to make something happen, but the defense, even in a power play, is coming to life.
Really early aggression out of Vaughn and BOIS on this point have kept them in a power play state for the entirety of the dribble. Now trying to push on forward, looking to see if they can get the point for themselves. There's going to be a KO coming in off of that crater from Katsuna. Now sending on through the Magical Maelstrom. You Already Lose, looking to keep things cleared out during the power play, but Josh going to be able to use that flow state to find the first. There's going to be BOIS coming back on the respawn. Katsuna pushing for a little bit more, has access to the flip. Josh just has to get it down to him. Soren coming out to midfield. There's the flip out of Katsuna, but it doesn't find the core, and the base drop out of Josh just going to buy a little bit more space. Gets the energy, but is already down a teammate that's about to lose his own life while he's at it. BOIS pushing for more on towards the top side, but it will get cleared back out, and it will buy a little bit of time. Josh goes for the flip. He gets stuffed by Vaughn, and You Already Lose just setting up for another round of aggression, but Josh still standing strong, has the health bar available, but BOIS will take him off the bottom blast zone. Vaughn going in for the bull rush, opens up the space, and Katsuna cannot save it. Gets the header, but it ricochets back into the goal.
A valiant attempt on that defense. We are seeing these power plays constantly, where either the dynamic duo on the double forward get a quick kill and the round starts to collapse under it, or the round starts to keep going, and a player like Josh just loses that HP over time, and it really just starts to pile up. So we'll need to see some defenses come out here. We see the stacks on stacks picked up. That's going to help with that mobility that we mentioned earlier, but so is Orb Dancer, as now Castellas picked up. That's going to make those primaries a lot better, and the speed a little bit longer to help control the pace of this game. Unstoppable is going to give a little bit of health. Twin Drive is good, but we see Among Titans X, not typically the pick I would see on that character when something like Might of the Colossus exists in this game, but like you said, Vaughn playing almost like midfielder-esque on this brawler. Perhaps they're looking more to catch up to that speed, to give them a little bit more pressure in this midfield and get the ball into the hands of BOIS, while also giving themselves the speed to go for these KO attempts when they need the most.
Yeah, it does let them index a little bit of extra size into BOIS as well while they're at it. So really both of these brawlers end up getting a lot speedier with the stacks on stacks picked up for BOIS while they're at it. So that plus Flutterfly really going to make these guys fly across the screen, match some of that movement speed that is usually Octavia's turf, and perhaps going to be able to keep up with Josh even once he does start getting that flow state churning away. Already seeing some of these volleys coming back and forth. The damage coming out of Vaughn has been substantial. Josh can be forced to throw down the base drop, trying to buy a little bit of extra space to play with for the team, but these shots just keep on raining through. The X Maximus, the dash punch, every bit of damage connects onto Josh, and now it's a power play for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S as Vaughn looks to push on towards the left. You already lose, setting up with the Bewitching Beam, pushing it through. Both members getting the Shrink, getting the Grow, getting the Core, gets everything, and uses the whole Buffalo on that ability. Now getting an opportunity to push in for that barrier, but there will be the clear out. Josh going to have to go elusive very early on, but in the flow state, going to try to find that barrier for himself. He takes back control on the top, comes in with the base drop. Flip comes through out of Oh You Already Lose, passing it back over towards Bells, and falling back to just everybody dogpile on Josh once again. This guy in his substitute game just cannot get a break.
It's a difficult situation if you're Josh because there's a lot of flips available, both your team and the enemies, and that's a pretty easy way to secure kill. But right now, with that barrier secured, they need to secure this goal before the net opens on their side and Calamity strikes.
There's going to be an open goal for both sides. Another KO for Bells makes it a 4-0 streak for him, as Vaughn getting set up to go for another push. Now in this one-on-one with Soren, what a perfectly placed punch from Bells. Catches Soren's shot back, sends it where he can't get it.
A well-placed punch there. Normally the punch using to stuff the core, but there it's almost like an S.A.D.B.O.I.S beam catching the clear, as a great awareness by Bells to clear off that angle in that 1v1 situation. Now, with that said, Josh is already starting this game a little bit low here, as there are some orbs that are about to pop up, but the barrier is not there, so you'll have to be a little bit careful. Soren starting to walk up a little bit more, apply more pressure, maybe take some of the heat off of Josh by being a force in the middle of the field there, using the momentum boots, the goalie awakening that is really great for Kai because of that high base movement speed, allowing him to really just fly around the field as much as he needs. But that said, Josh is looking like they're about to fly into the blast zone just like that. Bells gets a KO and a barrier to go with it. Now we'll have to see Vaughn with this flip available, almost a kill. We'll have to see if they can secure this before the teammate comes back.
It's such a tough ask to have Josh trying to stay alive up against this double brawler matchup. He's fallen substantially behind now. Will be able to find a big KO. That's a big injection of XP into him, as well as giving the opportunity for the power play back over towards Air's Kitten Club as they look to push for a score in their first one in a while they're at it. Bells coming in here. Soren just dribbling on towards the bottom side. Katsuna coming back on over with the boost, trying to set up a position where they can clear things back out. But it's Bells losing control of it. Goes back over to Josh. Josh nearly taken out off the bottom, but will hang on by a sliver. Meanwhile, though, Vaughn is pushing on to Katsuna on the other side, taking Katsuna nearly off into the goal. A flip out of Josh, really well timed, sets up for another follow-up shot, but it will be blocked away by You Already Lose. Meanwhile, Vaughn finding that KO on the top side and creating the power play yet again. You Already Lose gets the Bewitching Beam through two, shrinks down both, but does not keep control over the core, and will end up flying over and finding the barrier. But a KO out of Bells, going up to 6 and taking it to 2-0 in set number 2.
We were just talking about how all of that energy was on the table, and there it seems like the energy is staying up as they do get a kill using that flip, but that is going to be one less flip and a lot less energy that they have to patrol this midsection of the game, as now they have to take these barriers once more. Bells low on energy, but high on resources as that ultimate does come out here. Vaughn looking potentially for a quick smack onto Josh, but unfortunately does not manage to get it. But with them being this low, it is quite scary. One thing I'm worried about here is we do see this unstoppable onto Soren, but the Bewitching Beam has just taken it, and now they are slowed and potentially in danger of dying to that Juliet or that X, especially with the flip available once more. We just mentioned it, and it's already back.
Yeah, it's constantly being brought up again and again. They're able to stack these up pretty quickly as Vaughn pops the Maximus. Josh is going to get taken down, trying to find somewhere to hide, but there is nowhere where you can get away from Vaughn on this speedy X. There's the point-blank flip. Great save from Soren. Will buy a little bit of time. Bells maybe throwing out the Flame Flurry in the wrong direction there. Ends up clearing out the core towards the top, but they will finally be able to find that barrier. There's the flip out of Bells. The shot past Soren, and a 3-0 set to the S.A.D.B.O.I.S as they take themselves to game point.
A good angle by Bells there, as previously in that situation, in that one-on-one, they had gone for the bottom corner and just made Soren guess there. Soren was a little bit closer to the top side, but the flip actually going up to that top side. Soren perhaps getting a little bit mind-gamed there, but a secured goal, as now Rampage is the pickup here as the reward. However, we do see things like aerials available, but they take the Reptile Remedy, perhaps denying that stagger from the enemy team. The recovery drone is on the table if they're scared about the KOs. Oh my goodness, a Deadeye X. That Bull Rush is going to be one-shotting people. But
I mean,
as much as it can, I suppose.
Yeah.
But this aerials pickup on Josh could be really good. That's a lot of speed and potentially a little bit of stuffing power there on that primary. to give them a little bit more force in the round, but it's a little difficult when the draft ends up your last pick as Luna and you still somehow get missile propulsion. So I would not be too terribly upset if I'm them, but with that stagger being taken away, that is going to be a lot of damage still on the table that they're going to have to deal with and find a way around.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, is it really even worth it to deny the Deadeye when she's getting missile propulsion anyway? But that's the Vaughn decision, and immediately Era's Kitten Club going to come on out and going to find that score. Good stuff from Josh there to break what was a losing streak for EKC as they reset for a second point and are looking to have the big comeback in game number 1, fresh off a, we'll call it an interesting draft.
Certainly a draft of all time. I have to agree with you there. But that said, Josh making good use of that speed, like we mentioned, with the aerials and even getting that little extra distance on the projectile to secure that top barrier here. As the draft, at first, it didn't look too good, but now Josh seems like he's in control of these rounds. Bells is looking a little low. Katsuna could be having something to say about that. But Josh is just dominating this field. 2 goals in a row, breaking the tempo for their team and breaking open this game, potentially going to another draft.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best Octavia build you could hope for 3 drafts in. You've got so much additional augmentation for that flow state, just making you the fastest member of the map, even with some of those speed awakenings that the S.A.D.B.O.I.S have been able to get for themselves. And you see he's dodging out of stuff now. The dash punch attempt from Bells there ends up going wide as Josh jukes back inward to keep away from it. And he's able to just zip right past Vaughn there. I mean, he gets hit by the bell ringer. He's staggered for a second, but he just zips right past him, and he's just outspeeding everybody on the map. It's becoming very, very difficult for S.A.D.B.O.I.S to answer this in any meaningful way as Josh is just everywhere all at once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. Hitboxes, players, the core. The core's going a little slow right now, but that could change very soon as we are slowly approaching overtime if they cannot secure this. But Vaughn has that flip available. Could be potentially looking for a kill there with it, but it's actually Bells who goes down. No flip needed from Katsuna, just a kill. But the net's wide open. They have to burn a flip here.
Yeah, but they do manage to find that barrier with its open goals for both teams. You just got to be able to hold on. Another flip comes out of Bells, trying to save the point, trying to avoid going down a set, giving another draft on over towards EKC. Etsuna finds another very early KO in this volley, and it's going to be a power play for EKC. An easy score comes through for Josh, and that is a 3-0 comeback set from EKC.
This is a big opportunity here. As you have broken the tempo that's against you, you've gotten yourself a round in this game where previously it looked very dominant, lots of kills coming out. Now Josh is just running amok on the field, absolutely showing why they picked this Octavia. And we mentioned it at the start. We didn't know how much of a question mark this pick was going to be, but here they've gotten everything they could ask for. So they're really going to be able to dominate this field, but there is potentially 1-2 punch on the table for this Juliet, so that could be what they need to secure these kills onto Josh. But like you said, with that speed, it seems like they can almost just walk out at times. But Katsuna getting the adrenaline rush here could be interesting because they got a lot of quick kills that previous round off of those dash punches with the rocket. So we'll have to see if they can use that cooldown reduction to the most, or whether or not Josh is just going to keep running amok of this field and they don't need the adrenaline rush. They just need Josh to keep the core in their hands.
Yeah, that Orb Dancer going to give that extra cooldown reduction as well. The Orb Ponderer, rather. Orb Dancer getting a little bit crazy with how much movement speed has already been built up for Josh here, but there's going to be an opportunity to find that top barrier. Will go through for Bells. Vaughn setting up very nicely here. They got a 2 versus 1 very briefly with Soren, and that's all they need to pounce. Josh cannot get back in time, and the S.A.D.B.O.I.S will get the first point of set number 4.
A singular goal, but that doesn't necessarily tell the whole story here, as it's just 1 round. We'll have to see whether or not they can keep that up, but that was a pretty good performance there on that round. We'll just have to see whether or not Bells can potentially look for a KO here, as they do have Vaughn popping the X Maximus, looking for a lot of damage onto Josh. Josh looking a little low here. The flip almost sealing the deal, but they bounce off of the middle barrier here, as now Josh has to fight for their life. The Flamethrower comes out, does secure the kill, and oh my goodness, a double barrier is taken.
Wow, everything just goes wrong there in an instant. Really good positioning from Bells to be able to hunt down that KO on towards Josh, and now the KO timer, it won't come up in time. Great push through with the magical Maelstrom. Will give another goal over towards Vaughn, and will mean 1 goal left to play for before BOIS ends up taking game number 1.
There we see an excellent tornado, as that's one of the things about Air on this map. Even though she's a goalie, she still can have that presence with the tornado just shutting off a lane. But it's actually Vaughn who shuts off the life of the enemy team, getting a kill onto Josh there once more. How many KOs have been in this game, as now Bells is KOing these barriers with the help of Vaughn. Quick round, the Flame Furry's out, and the goal is in. That is the first game here. I couldn't even pass it off to you before they ran down that field and ran the core into the enemy goal.
Yeah, geez, a 3-0 set for Era's Kitten Club wakes the S.A.D.B.O.I.S back up, and they come back with a vengeance, taking a 3-0 set of their own that ends up securing game number 1. The S.A.D.B.O.I.S now on match point for their game of the week, and Era's Kitten Club showing some good spark there towards the end, with Josh being able to come up, make some big plays on the Octavia, but at the end of the day, they're in such a hole off the back of those first couple of minutes. There's just nothing left for them to be able to do, and they do end up going down.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about going down, but let's look at these KOs. 6 on Vaughn and 9 on Bells. That is a lot of damage coming through, even though it isn't necessarily a damage comp like something with a Vice or a Luna. The kill still certainly came out, and perhaps that's why we were on this night market pick. But that said, that double brawler comp may just be for this map. We'll have to see what they pick on the next one, as I believe it was Gates of Obscura. Feel free to correct me on that if I am wrong. However, with a performance like that, like you said, they had that 3-0. Era's Kitten Club got that 3-0. And it's like the S.A.D.B.O.I.S just woke up. They said, whoa, what are you doing on our turf? Like, we let you guys think you were somebody for a second. Let's fix that. And fix it they did, as that was a dominating last round. But we're on to the next game here, and I'm excited, because if we keep seeing rounds like that where we have a little bit of a comeback story, never mind, dominance is striking, we'll just have to see if they can keep that up. But a great game nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely was there. Really impressed with what we've gotten to see here, and this does set them up to be able to take a potential game 2 on Gates of Obscura. We're going to have to see how they'll be able to perform here, as there's still a little bit left time to be played on, or a little bit left time to kill before we get into that second game. So we'll have to see how they're going to try to adapt back here with Josh, and how Era's Kitten Club can try to change up their strategy. You know, it's unlikely it's going to be a chrono boost start again, so I don't think they're really considering that they're going to run back that sort of Octavia composition. But then that does beg the question, right? What does this comp look like? And by comp, I mean, you know, set of 3 players, not necessarily set of 3 characters. How are they going to be able to do with a more traditional brawler setup with Josh, if that is the direction that they want to go?
Well, more traditional brawler setup could be in the lines here, as we do see Primetime and Quick Strike, a great awakening if you're a brawler player, because on something like that X, where, well, it's banned, so we won't get to see it, but could have been a very nice pickup here. But we actually see Kazan as the other ban there. I think that's pretty reasonable in the hand of Bells. That is a terrifying character. But EKC going to be picking up Zintaro first pick. You know, we have Josh replacing nxzd, and I suppose that they are doing that to the best of their ability, even picking the character that I know nxzd for here. So we'll just have to see what this pick 2-3 looks like. But I think Zintaro, with that rapid fire, could be a really big threat, both in damage and on those barriers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. I mean, could really be one of those more threatening selections here. I'm getting unlucky with a 3-minute ad on the Twitch stream right now, so I can't actually see the draft, but you're going to have to walk me through it a little bit here, Dendar. But it's definitely sounding like we're getting a little bit more traditional of a setup, though.
Yep, absolutely. However, as soon as we say that, we see the pick 2 and 3 for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S is Vice and S.A.D.B.O.I.S. So, S.A.D.B.O.I.S, very good midfield pick on this map, especially with quick strikes available. Losing out on that rapid fire later down the line is going to be a little painful, but when you get to start the game with quick strikes, that's hard to miss out on. But Vice is an interesting pick here, because I have to assume that it's Vice goalie at this point, which Estelle does have a lot of chip damage in the fact that there are a lot of times where when she's contesting you for the core, that piercing shot might hit you, or the Rose Warp might catch you instead of the core. So that is damage. But speaking of damage, we do see the Kai Luna come out as pick 4-5 for EKC, and then Rasmus as the last pick. So to sum it up for you, in case you are still getting some ads here, we've got EKC running the Zintaro with Kai and Luna, and S.A.D.B.O.I.S going for Vice Estelle with Rasmus as the last pickup here. I think Estelle Rasmus, a great forward combination on maps like this, but that Vice goalie is kind of the one that I'm looking at here, as that feels a little out of place in this comp. But I mean, when it's in the hand of the S.A.D.B.O.I.S, like, I'm sure that they will shut me up very quickly.
Yeah, it's always the most likely scenario that whatever they draft is probably going to end up working. A lot of folks really getting turned on to the Vice goalie lately as just something that can really get out on the field and get a little bit more active in some of those scoring opportunities, especially kind of the midfield ranges. And it's been very good, very successful for a number of teams. I'm not surprised to see the S.A.D.B.O.I.S start to pick it up a little bit more. And I think it's definitely going to be within the wheelhouse of things that you already lose can start to perform on. And then, of course, yeah, a very classic duo for them up front here for Vaughn and Bells to be able to just try to play their classic game.
One thing I want to take a note of here with these team comps, though, is that typically on this map, you will see at least one side have a sort of hold it down bunker goalie like that Dubu or this Atlas. Here, both teams have selected to go for that more midfielder style goalie, apply pressure from the midfield line, maybe a little bit further up, hopefully not as hard having to patrol those portals with something like the Dubu log that maybe could block it off. Instead, they're opting to get into the fray themselves. So the defense on this map is going to be certainly a lot harder than if you had something like that for both teams. So it's going to be a lot of which team can make the most out of the offensive capabilities they have here, whether it's the damage with the Vice and the Luna, or the Vice against the Luna, or it's just that traditional midfield forward combo of Estelle and Rasmus, who can really just lock down that space, especially with the new shaped barriers, very reminiscent of something like Inky's or Oni Village, where you have to go for those cross clears a lot, and those are two characters that are very good at sniping it. So we'll have to see if Zentara, with that damage from Luna, can really sort of lock things up and say, hey, you're in the pocket, we're going to make you suffer for it, or whether or not that sort of traditional core sniping ability will get the best of them. So we will just have to see as we get into this game on Gates of Obscura.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, Vaughn definitely a very dangerous Estelle player, but I was pretty impressed by how that Luna was able to do in game number 1. They really did end up getting kind of shut out of it, but it's been a pick that's been very successful for Katsuna over their time in competitive, and I think they've been able to show some really great showings on it. It's something I'm looking forward to seeing here on Gates of Obscura as we get into game number 2 into the kind of official in-client draft here.
As we just go through the pleasantries of everybody picking the characters that they've already selected in our pre-draft phase, we just have to wait. Maybe we'll get to see what skins these players are picking. We see the Golden Zentaro going Super Saiyan a bit here, so we'll have to see if the performance matches the skin. But I'm not too sure how I feel about this fight still, but like you said, in the hands of someone like you already lose, I mean, it's hard to say that it's a bad pick, you know? But
yeah,
absolutely. I do think... Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I see a lot of value in at least the Thunderstruck stun. Like, if you can actually manage to land that, if you can, turn some very minor hit stuns from a Crystal Thorns or something into that stun, into the follow-up with a piercing shot or with anything that X is dishing out, you can definitely see the success cases, but I agree. It's very interesting, kind of the different ranges they're playing at. You'd almost rather just have something that can kind of lock down the goal a little bit more effectively and just let the Estelle Rasmus comp play out the way that it would traditionally do so. But here we go, onto the field, game number 2, S.A.D.B.O.I.S. They win here, will take themselves the win on the week.
Oh, but one thing we didn't pay attention to here is it's actually Estelle on the goalie with strike shot.
Oh.
So it's going to be Vice midfield. This is interesting to me because I like the pressure that Estelle is going to be able to put out on those barriers, even from the midfield line. I feel like that's going to be a little bit more pressuring than that Vice would be. And then in those pockets, we have those power chords and even the ultimates coming through to put out a lot of damage and force you into that pocket even deeper. But right now, this defense has to go deep to survive as they have both of their barriers gone, and the other side hasn't taken a single one.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about... Oh, wow.
Oh, my
Vaughn in
goodness.
perfect position there, just closing out the point. I wanted to talk about how Vaughn has kind of been the one who's picking up the Vice a little bit more lately, but you saw this draft, I'm like, all right, well, clearly it's Vaughn for Estelle. There's no way this Vice isn't in the goal box, but here we are. I mean, it's still Vaughn piloting this one. I think he's been doing really well on this one in the season so far, and very cool to see that he's actually just willing to bust it out here, even with the and just put the Estelle in the goal box.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about NASL is that even if they lose one game just to a pick like this, or even if they win the game off of a pick like this, at the end of the day, the results screen is just like one snapshot at it, right? It doesn't tell you the full story of these games, of these players. So when you get to see a full 30-minute set of these players picking these characters that may seem unconventional or unorthodox, and we get to just really experience that, sit down, and enjoy every minute of it, I think that's what NASL is all about.
Yeah, and already starting to see some very cool passing plays coming through on Gates of Obscura here for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S. Definitely well practiced on this map. I believe this is their pick, and kind of showing why a little bit here as they're already starting to make some magic happen going on through these portals. And this is where S.A.D.B.O.I.S becomes, you know, one of the most dangerous teams imaginable to play up against at NASL, because not only as we get into Season 4 are they some of the best players in the league, but they also have some of the most veterancy, and they have some of the best synergy because they've been playing together for so long. So they've just got everything going for them, and it's becoming more and more difficult to face off against this team as anybody in the league as time goes on.
Absolutely. The scaling is definitely there. But right now, the thing they seem to be lacking is health here, as B.O.I.S is fighting for his life, and the core just goes in off of a flip from Soren from one go box to another. But I've got to agree with you that these players are definitely exceptional, seasoned veterans, and getting to see them play is definitely a treat. But right now, they might need to treat themselves to some orbs to keep their health up, as Josh is almost down already, as Vaughn is back here in this goal box trying to get out. But here we see that weakness of not having the bunker-style goalie. Oh my goodness, this could be catastrophic.
Okay, all right. We all saw it. We all saw it coming towards the Supernova. Vaughn doesn't panic. He waits it out. He sends it in towards the wall rather than back into his own goal. So the disaster is avoided. The channel time on that can be pretty substantial when you want it to be, so they get enough time for the core to move where they want it to be. But there is a KO found by Josh on the other side, so a power play available to Era's Kitten Club. The flip out of Katsuna, and right to the goal. We're going to point number 5 for, I think, the first time this series. These have been pretty one-sided sets so far.
Yeah, 0.5. That hook from B.O.I.S just barely couldn't cover the teleport there, so the core was able to get in the hand of Katsuna. But there's a lack of energy on the blue side here, as B.O.I.S has a flip. You Already Lose has a flip. B.O.I.S doesn't really have the health to support this flip play, and Josh almost gets a kill there, but going through the teleporter, not enough knockback, as they try to take out B.O.I.S even with the barrage. But that flip does come out to survive, as Katsuna and Josh look like they might be next. They said, okay, you had your chance of killing us, now we're going to take ours. But right now the damage is just so back and forth that the kill does finally come out here. Big kills there, so this is going to be a power play in this pocket with You Already Lose covering that portal side. We'll just have to see if they can keep up this barrier pressure, and they do. But this is such a scary situation, even when you have 2 low health enemies. But those low health enemies are people like B.O.I.S and Vaughn. It's tough.
I'm furious if I'm Josh right now, as that point ends up coming through for Vaughn. You get the most perfect KO angle ever, and it sends him through the portal, and he stays alive, and then 5 seconds later, you get nudged by a power cord near the wall and get KO'd for it. Just a real unfortunate set of circumstances there for the EKC brawler.
Definitely a difficult situation, but one that you have to accept when you're against a character like Vice, where there's going to be times where it just feels like you're safe and then suddenly you're oh so not. But this Chrono Boost pickup for the Kai is going to be nice, but with Bulk Up being the one on the Vice, that's a lot of damage and some health deny here. We have to see the Reptile Remedy come out for the Luna, but that does leave Explosive Entrance, so that's going to give Josh a lot more pressure from these pockets where they don't have to be right up against the barrier to do their thing. They can be a little bit closer to the portal or the midfield line and just keep up that pressure with the dashes, with the ultimates, as the pressure comes to life, but no barrier is taken in turn. We'll have to see if now, even with this ultimate coming out, You Already Lose is actually taking a lot of damage here. Not having pauldrons to defend against this onslaught could end up being something that we see come to life here, as there we see You Already Lose actually picking up that barrier for their team. Good use of Strike Shot, giving them that extra missile range that they need on their abilities and even just striking the core.
Yeah, really great core control here from You Already Lose, though, getting massive value out of that Strike Shot, playing up at midfield, and really being able to keep the aggression going. Was the one who ended up finding that first barrier. The second will come through for B.O.I.S, setting up for the pendulum swing, not quite taking it there. There's You Already Lose, navigating it around Katsuna, as Katsuna comes in to try to open up the goal for themselves. There's going to be the flip coming on across, gets passed on through the portal, passed back right through, and Vaughn will be ready to receive. Flip from Katsuna interrupts, but it gets stuffed there by the Crystal Thorns, and B.O.I.S with a shot at taking it into the goal. One-on-one with Soren. B.O.I.S will take it home and get the first score for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S.
A rare miss on that first attempt by B.O.I.S, but they do get the second one and get it in, getting the point for their team. But Vaughn has this flip available, and as a midfielder, that's a lot of utility that you have both on offense and defense. We'll just have to see where they end up using it. But right now, Josh is putting on an excellent performance getting these barriers. Maybe Vaughn will have to use this flip just to stay alive on this defense when Josh is playing like this.
Very possibly. Josh looking for the steal away. Could have gotten that one-on-one angle, but Does get navigated back away by Vaughn and Bells. They will be able to take the first barrier. The flip point blank from Vaughn will take the second one, and this aggression is unrelenting. Great position from Vaughn with the supernova, clears everyone out of the way and opens a clear path to the shot on goal. 2-0 in set number 2. S.A.D.B.O.I.S looking for one more to take it to set number 3.
Vaughn herding the cattle there, saying, you need to go over here. The wolves are at bay in our net, and you don't need to be there. But that's it. One thing I want to put out there is You Already Lose actually had great patience on the Visal and used the strike shot to actually readjust after the core would have gone flying backwards. So that's really good core control, like you mentioned, from them using that strike shot to the fullest. As right now, this team is trying to make the most out of this pocket as they do get this second barrier, but we'll have to see if they can turn it around.
Just resetting, getting back into these well-rehearsed plays. Strike shot comes through, puts it in towards Bells. Piercing shot doesn't connect. In through the portal, setting up for this supernova. Will not end up connecting, but great positioning on the stun. Just takes one down, opens up the path yet again, and it's a 3-0 set for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S. Getting into our second draft, and at the pace things are going, this might just be our last one here, Dendar.
Might be. When you've been thunderstruck just like that, it's hard to stay alive in that goalie box. There's so many things happening. The collapses are just excellent by this team. A team, like you said, have had so much practice together and know exactly what each other want. And when they collapse in like that, it's so difficult to survive. But the unstoppable deny here would have been the one thing that maybe helped Soren survive, and that has been taken from them. But Orb Ponder is a big pickup here. Good cooldowns. We'll see the Stinger come out. That's going to be a lot more damage that, I mean, it was already plentiful, but now there's a lot. And when you pick up something like Stacks on Stacks to combat that, that's difficult. Because if you do not stay alive, Stacks on Stacks is a lot less useful. And when the enemy team has just picked up Stinger, it's going to be a lot harder to stay alive, as we see Josh going quite low here. But they're getting the barriers here.
Yeah, I mean, Stinger is just gross on the Vice, especially Vaughn's Vice, who has generally been hitting a pretty high percentage of those power chords. Josh nearly going to get taken out into the goal there. Nice shot through the portal once again. So well rehearsed by You Already Lose. He comes back to save it. Was in position, already moving there as the core was in route towards the bottom side portal. Just knows where he has to be, knows where the shot is coming on through, and manages to save the point yet again. Now clearing it back out towards the top, sending it on over to Bells. Not quite able to get it with the death touch, but keeping up that aggression in the 1 versus 2. Josh sends it back through with the Oni's Blade. KO found by Vaughn, using that supernova and creating a power play. Now it's going to be Katsuna, the next focus, taken very low, but regenning back up in time. Vaughn dribbling it off the top, trying to set up for Bells. Going to get snuck back away by Katsuna as Josh comes back on the respawn. The flip comes through for Bells, nearly going to be able to take him out, but he is low on HP. Still hanging on as the second barrier falls. Good flip out of Katsuna, counter flip out of You Already Lose, sends it back over. Soren going to have to use the flip of their own, but now Bells getting the opportunity, gets sent back out by the barrage. Vaughn going to be able to pass it to himself, using that warp through from the Thunderstruck, and Josh setting up for the play, going to get knocked out of it by the piercing shot of You Already Lose. Supernova channeled by Vaughn as he sends it back up over to Bells. Bells sending it in towards the goal. Soren going to be able to keep up with the defense. Comes back in off the top, sends over to Bells. Bells coming in through and puts it into the top corner. Another score for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S.
I always enjoy your play-by-play. Have you ever considered working in an auction house? Because that
I have,
just
and they
excellent.
go faster than me, man. I can't do it.
I mean, that was
It's
just an
actually
excellent
so hard.
But that said, we do see Bells really abusing the size here. As they took a couple strike wars there, they might have not been able to if they didn't have it. And the pendulum swings have really been great as they just cover so much space now with that recovery drone size and that insurance package of being able to survive. I mean, these players know how to play around in damage compositions, so when it's already hard to kill them and they have an insurance policy on their lives, it's going to be really difficult to get Bells out of the fray here. But oh my goodness, just a couple dribbles and it's a point for their team. This is potentially the last point in the series here, as a 2-0 lead in round 3, 2-set lead, 2-round lead. This could be the game here.
Yeah, gorgeous shot there from Bells, getting the ricochet off the barrier into the shot right as the goal gates are opening up. I mean, you can't draw it up any better than that, as a really early KO comes through for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S yet again, and they are just pushing for even more through the portal, back up to Bells with the pendulum swing, focusing on towards these barriers. First one will fall, second one under pressure falls down as well, and Soren, he just can't get his hands around it. It'll go on through. A 3-0 set for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S will take a 2-0 win on the week as they move their score up to 3-1.
I mean, what a dominating performance there, as We saw this comp that, I mean, I had my question marks about it. I no longer have question marks about it. They showed excellently why they picked the characters they picked, and they played to the best of their ability there. Not as many KOs this game, but still plentiful. 5 on Vaughn and 3 on... You already lose, actually, having the KOs here instead of Bells. An interesting...
And Bells gets 0. That's gonna be rough for his brawler stats come season end. You know, when we're starting to do votes for All Pro, that's gonna, you know, we look at those KO numbers for brawlers, man. That's a rough performance for Bells. I kid though. They did an excellent job here, and certainly were able to make this composition work for them. And there's just so much damage coming out of the other positions. I mean, you don't really ask that out of Bells. He's kind of just there as sort of a siege tool, right? Standing up in front of the goal, kind of making that scorer role more so than the brawler role really present as he just pushes over and over again. You can see he's got double the shots of pretty much anybody else on the field, just constantly pushing it in towards those barriers, towards those goals, and forcing down Soren to eventually be able to get the points through for the S.A.D.B.O.I.S.
I mean, if they know one thing how to do, it's getting the rock to Bells. That guy knows how to take some shots. But that said, the reason I'm so confused is I feel like Rasmus is usually the character cleaning up the kills, not getting them. So it makes sense that they don't have as many. But that just shows how much presence You Already Lose really had on this field during this game. They were not just a goalie. They were basically a second midfielder there.